Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to just do a recap of the Brother ScanNCut Print and Cut function. Now let me start off by saying I did a video on the print and cut function. It's probably nearly 2 years ago now, and I think in the comments in that video somebody, or maybe more than one person, I can't remember, left a comment saying that they couldn't get the print and cut in their country. Every time I start a video, either Eddie starts playing with a toy or a train goes through the village. And I always have my door open in my craft room. If you hear any background noise, it's either one of those two things. Anyway, as I say, somebody said that they couldn't get the print and cut. Now I'm in the UK, and it's a feature that's available to us here in the UK. So I honestly don't know whether it's available worldwide now or not, because like I say, that original video is nearly 2 years old. But in a video that I posted a few months ago where I announced that I was leaving Stampin' Up, I also did say in that video if anybody had any questions or comments, or if they had anything that they wanted me to go over in future videos, to let me know. And one of the comments was that the person wanted to know more information about how to use the print and cut that she had, but she'd not used it very much. So that's what today's video is all about. Now, let me also say before I start, obviously we all know that the ScanNCut has got an inbuilt scanner. So if you've not got the print and cut function, you can still print an image and you can then scan it through your ScanNCut and get your ScanNCut machine to do a direct cut for you. Now sometimes it can be a little bit hit and miss if there's no definition between the foreground and the background of the colour that you've printed, and I'll try and explain that further with something that I did print and then scan through my ScanNCut machine that's available in this bundle that I'm going to be using today. You know, it can be done. You can, sometimes pencil in some lines to make lines join up to get an outline, and you can make it work. But if you have the print and cut facility, or you have it available in the country that you live in, and you want to know more about it and how it can possibly help you in your crafting, then I'm just going to go over all that information again today. So up on my desktop here, you'll see I've got this folder that says Christmas Bundle. Now this Christmas Bundle is a free bundle of images that's available as part of my Creative Fabrica subscription. And the reason that I'm using it is because there are lots and lots and lots of different types of images in here that don't all have solid edge, dark backgrounds or light backgrounds, all different types. So I've put it on my desktop so it's easier for me to get to. So the first one I'm going to start off with is a really simple image that's quite a dark image on a white background, which should give us the result that we expect. But I also want to go into more detail in this video where you maybe are using images that don't have as much contrast. Okay, and then because I like to kind of cover all eventualities, because if I show you with this first image and say, you bring this image in, you do this auto trace, it will put the outline on it for you. But then you go and choose a different image, or you go and choose a different image from this folder. If you get this, folder full of absolutely fantastic printed images and it doesn't work, you'll think, well, why did it work for her and it's not working for me? So I want to kind of try as much as I can cover hurdles, if you like, that you may come across. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm in Canvas Workspace. You've got to be using Canvas Workspace for computer, because this is the only version that allows you to export a PDF document, which is a printable document. You can't print from Canvas Workspace online, so you have to use the downloadable version, okay? I've got lots of videos showing you where and how to get the downloadable version on my YouTube channel. But basically, if you go to Canvas Workspace online, before you log in, there's a big black button that says download here, and that's the downloadable version. By default, when we open up a new canvas, we automatically get 12 by 12. I've not got a 12 by 12 printer. Here in the UK, my printer prints on A4 paper. If you're anywhere else in the world, you might print on letter size. So the first thing I'm going to do is set my page up to print for how I would print here in the UK. So I'm going to come over to the right hand side where the editing icons are, and I'm going to come down to the last icon, which is the artboard. Under artboard, you'll see it says 12 by 12. That's what's selected by default. I'm going to click on the downward arrow and I'm going to choose A4. Now this is in here for two reasons. One, because I've got the print and cut activation card, and I also have from previous years the sticker card, and that's why that's in here. If you come to the artboard and you don't see this, it might be that you've not got the sticker kit, or you've not got the print and cut, so you won't see it. Okay. It also gives you the option here for letter. So if you're in the US and you use 8.5 by 11, you can choose yours. I'm going to choose my UK A4. So straight away now you'll see that the red dashed bounding box that is normally just on the inside of the 12 by 12 mat has shrunk to the size of my UK A4. The other thing that I'm going to do, because I'm going to be doing print and cut, is I need to click this box that says show registration marks. Now if you don't do that, once you've made your design and you've added your cut line, in the print and cut function, you save your file twice. So you export it as a PDF, which is the printable part, which is, where you print your colour images, and you also export it as a scan and cut file. And for the two to be able to line up, you've got to have these registration marks. I will link at the end of this video the video I did a couple of years ago, and you can go back and watch that as well. But hopefully I'll remember to cover everything in this video that I covered in the last. But just in case I don't, it might serve you well to watch both, okay? I work in inches, so I'm leaving that as it is, and nothing else is changing. So I've changed my artboard to A4 and I've made sure I've got my registration marks on. So now I'm going to come over to the left-hand side and you'll see the little like upside down heart, which is the auto trace feature. I'm going to select that. Now it tells you here that you can use an image that's on your computer, which is what I'm going to do today. And again, also in the accompanying blog post over on my blog, this video will be there on my blog in case you don't watch it directly on YouTube. But the links to the image file and everything I'm using today will be in the accompanying blog post. But it also says that you can use an image that you've scanned into your machine and sent over wirelessly. So let's say you've already got, you've printed a file, a page of images from this Christmas bundle. So you've just, loaded it onto a piece of paper and used maybe something like Canva or Word or Pages and dragged your images in and you've printed them. So then you go to your scan and cut machine and you scan it and you save it into your machine. You can also save it directly to Canvas Workspace, so you can bring it in this way. But I'm using a file that I'm just going to open directly from my computer. So I'm going to select this box. I'm going to find, let's just go back to the beginning. I'm going to find the Christmas bundle that's on my desktop. I'm going to double click to open it. And all these files in here have got tons and tons and tons of JPEG and PNG images. Now, when you're auto tracing, if I'll just cancel this for a minute, you'll see here that the formats that you can use for auto trace is PNG, JPG, which is JPEG, GIF or BMP. And this works if you're just doing a straightforward trace of something, so you're not printing it. Maybe you've got an image and you just want a cut outline of it. You don't want to print it. So you would use the auto trace function for that. And that would just put an outline around the image that you bring in, and it would just give you the cut outline. So that way you would cut that, say, in plain cardstock. But that's not what we're doing today. But just while I remember, I just want to point that out. So I'm going to come back to my selection, and the first folder I want to go to is folder CL613, which is this one. So I'm going to double click it. Now again, within this folder it will give you a printable view. I'll just try and expand it, of everything that's in this particular folder as one sheet, so you can see, you know, in a bigger picture, if you like, what's in here. So I'm just going to close that, and then it will give you each one of those individual images in JPEG or PNG format. So the first thing I'm going to do is open the JPEG, because that's mostly what most people would think to go to. So I'm going to double click on that folder, and I'm going to choose this reindeer here, number 8 it is on the JPG. Now, they're not always the same number in the JPG and the PNG file. A lot of the times they are, but I've come across some where they're different numbers. So that's just something to bear in mind when you're looking in the folders. So I'm going to choose this number 8 in the JPEG folder, and I'm going to choose open. And now, by default, the auto trace automatically wants to trace around the outside edge only. And when we're doing print and cut, that's all we need. And you'll see here that it says the crop size is 6 by 6 inches. And you can see the blue turquoise outline. That's the cut line that the auto trace is putting in for me. And you can see all this white background here, which basically means that this is an image on a background. Okay, you'll hopefully see the difference in a minute when I bring in the PNG, which basically has no background. So that all looks okay. If I was doing a print and cut, that would look fine. So I'm going to say okay. And that's put the image on my mat. And if you look where this background is, you can't see the grid through it. So this image is on a white background, which basically is how it would be if you printed it on a piece of paper. Okay, now when they come in, they automatically come in grouped. So from here, you can resize it bigger or smaller as you see fit, and it will adjust the print and the black, which is this black outline. If I make this bigger so you can see it, this black outline around the design is the turquoise line you saw in the previous step. So that's the cut line, okay? You can see that the image is a solid image here. The background is a solid image. You can see it better when I make it bigger, okay? But by default, let's just go back to how it comes in. When I click on it and go over to edit, you'll see it's come in as 6 by 6 in size, and that's what it said it was in the auto trace. So I'm just going to put that on one side for now and leave it there. And that's got the background, and I'll explain more in a minute. Now I'm going to go back to the auto trace. I'm going to go back to find an image from my computer. And this time I'm going to go back to that same bundle, but I'm going to go into the PNG folder. So I'm going to double click on the PNG folder, and I'm going to choose the same reindeer and say OK. Now this time, if you have a look at it, again, it's put the outline around, which is what we want. But the crop size here is 18 inches wide and 23.5 inches high. So I'm going to say OK. And that now has put, so if I just zoom out to make this bigger, you'll see there's my 12 by 12 mat. There's my A4 artboard. Here's the little 6 by 6 that I just brought in as a JPEG, and look how big the PNG is. So now, let me just make this bigger. I'm going to shrink this down to make it more or less the same size as this, just so it's easier to work with. So with it selected, I'm going to just choose in the height, I'm going to choose 6 inches. I've got maintain aspect ratio selected, and it's taken it down to just over 4.5 wide and 6 high. And that's because this has got a bounding box around it, and you can see there's lots of blank space on either side, and that's why this is 6 by 6. But a PNG has no background. So this actual design, if I take it to 6 inches in high, which is more or less the same as this, because the box at the top and the bottom are more or less touching the antlers and the bottom of the feet. So we know the height is probably more or less right. It's just the width that's got extra space. This actual design is about 6 inches high and 4.5 wide. Okay, So let me just put them in the order that I brought them in, and then I'm going to make the screen bigger in the hope that you can see it. So now if I click on the first one, which is the JPEG, which we know always come in as a background, I'm going to right click and choose ungroup. Now straight away you'll see there are two blue bounding boxes this time. There's the one around the outside of the background, and there's the one around the outside of the actual cut line. So I'm just going to deselect by clicking anywhere off the page, and then I'm going to click back on here and drag this down. So you'll see that Canvas Workspace did a really good job on this image, putting this outline in perfectly. And that's because this reindeer in the main, all the edge of this reindeer is dark in comparison with the white background. So there's a good contrast between foreground and background. Okay. Now on the PNG, there's no background, so I would expect that it would do exactly the same. So I'm going to right click and say ungroup, and then I'm just going to drag. And you'll see that the two images look more or less identical in this particular instance. So I could just use this as an example and say, you know, this is how you bring an image in, you tell the machine to auto trace the outline, you save it as a PDF to print it, and you save it as a cut file to cut it, and then you load it into your ScanNCut machine, and the ScanNCut will cut around the edge. And end of tutorial. But it's not always as simple as that. So I'm going to go undo and undo so these images line back up. And again, I can right click and I can group them, and I can resize them from here if I wanted to. So if I wanted to say make these smaller and print a few to a page, then from here, because I've got the image and the outlines lined up, and it doesn't matter which one I'm using because, as I say, one's a JPEG, one's a PNG, but we've got the outline that we want around each design. From here, I would go up to the very top of the page where it says File, and I would say Export PDF, and I would say Images Only. And the reason I want to say Images Only is because the cut line around these images is black. And if I say Print to PDF All Visible Layers, it will print that black line around both these images that goes round the outside. And I don't want that. I want it to show, you know, as it's meant to be, all nice and brown in shades of brown, and I just want the line there for the ScanNCut to pick it up. So I would say Export PDF File, Images Only, and obviously you've got to make sure that your images sit within this red bounding box that's on your page, okay? So I'd say Images Only, and I'm just going to call it Reindeer. I'm going to save it on my desktop so I know where I'm saving it. And I'm going to say Save. And that's, let me just drag it back over here. So you'll see now it says Reindeer PDF. And if I just click on that and bring it into view, I'm not sure how well you'll see it, but let me see if I can just double click to open it properly. Here we go. This is a better view. So you'll see, because I said image only, I've not got that black cut line around my images, and that's what I want. I want the images to print as they're designed in the Christmas bundle folder. So that's step one. So now we want the cut lines. So again, you've got to go back to the top of the page to where it says Brother Canvas Workspace and it says File, and you want to export your cut file. So you come down to where it says Export Transfer FCM. It tells you that the printable image that's on the page won't be printed with the cut data, and that's fine. We know that. That's what we want. We're going to say OK. Now from here, you can just send this straight over to your ScanNCut machine if you want, but I want to show you how it looks. So I'm going to say export the FCM file to my computer. So again, I'm going to say Reindeer. I'm going to save it on my desktop, and this time when I drag it in, it's saved it as a ScanNCut file. So I've got my Reindeer PDF, and then I've got my Reindeer ScanNCut file. So let's just get rid of these and delete them, and I'm going to drag the cut file back onto my map, and you'll see now that the cut data is just that black outline. So when I print this PDF through my printer, and put this onto my mat, and then I go and open up this cut file, because I've got these registration marks, it will know where to cut around the printed image. So now for the next design, I'm going to choose something that hasn't got as much clear defined definition between the image. So I'm going to get rid of all this, and then I'm going to open up another image. Okay, so for the next design, I'm going to choose a different file. And the reason I'm showing you this one is because this has not got a clear defined outline of an edge. And these are the problems that you may come across if you're using a JPEG rather than a PNG image. So this is the design set in this folder, which is CL605. I'm giving you the numbers because if you go and download this bundle from Creative Fabrica, you can try this out yourself if you've got the print and cut facility. So again, I'm going to go to the auto trace button. I'm going to select an image from the computer. I'm going to navigate to my Christmas bundle file. I'm going to go into CL605. I'm going to choose the JPG, so the JPEG option at first. So I'm going to double click that, and I'm going to choose this little fairy that's sat down, and I'm going to say, so again, it's saying that as a JPEG, it's coming in as 6x6. That's the outline of the background. I'm going to leave everything as it is, and I'm going to say OK. Again, that's pasted the image and the outline with its background onto the mat. So I'm going to go back to auto trace. I'm going to go back into the same folder, only this time I'm going to choose the PNG option of the same fairy, which is fairy number 4 in this particular folder. And I'm going to say OK. Now this one again is saying that it's 6x6. Usually the PNGs come in a lot bigger, but for some reason this one's coming in at the same size, so that's fine. So straight away you can see that the PNG background has no background because you can see the grid through all the outside areas of this fairy. So let me swap them over so that they're on the mat in the order in which they came in. So I'm going to choose the JPEG. As you can see, you can't see the mat through it, so you know that this has got this white background. I'm going to right click and I'm going to ungroup. I'm going to left click anywhere on the page to deselect, and then just click on the fairy and drag it down. Now you can see that because the colour of the wings are very close to the colour of the background, on the auto scan of the JPEG, it's not picked the wings up. But if you look at the PNG, again, I'm going to select it, I'm going to right click, I'm going to choose ungroup, I'm going to left click anywhere on the page to deselect. So I've got both layers, if you like, separate, and I'm going to click and drag. You'll see here now that it's picked up the wings. So if you're using the print and cut facility, and obviously you've got to use the auto trace, you want to try and be looking to use PNG images rather than JPEGs, because JPEGs will always have a background, and if the foreground and the background don't have enough contrast, you're not always going to get an outline of what you expect. So if I cut this one on the left, it would cut all around the fairy and round a hat. And I think the reason it's picked the little bobble up on the hat is because the bobble has got a darker blue outline, which is in contrast to the white and this very pale bluey grey of the wing. So this is what you would get. So when you cut it out, you'd lose all this wing. But with the PNG, you can see when I put it back over that I would get everything that I need. So that's why I wanted to show you this particular folder, because like I say, in the reindeer, the foreground and the background had a defined contrast, and it's easy to pick up an outline using something that's got a clear defined background, and it doesn't necessarily matter whether you're using a JPEG or a PNG. But for something like this where the contrast isn't great, a PNG is always going to be better. So again, I wouldn't use this one. I would stick with this one, line them back up so they're all together, and then again you could go up to the top of the page where it says File. You would export the PDF with the image only, give it a name, save it like I showed you before, and then you would export the cut file separately. But again, I would go into the artboard, I would change the paper size to the size that I'm going to print on, so that I know that this will actually fit on my printout. And obviously you need to remember to add the registration marks before you export it and save it as a cut file. So the final one I'm going to show you is one that I have cut, but I didn't use the print and cut. I basically dragged the images into Canva. I just selected an 8.5 by 11 page, dragged the images from this folder, from this Christmas bundle folder, into Canva, printed them from Canva, and then I scanned that through my ScanNCut machine. And although a lot of the images did pick up, one of them in particular didn't cut as I would want it to. So I'm going to go back to the auto trace, choose an image from the computer. This time I need the folder that is CL926. Again, there's a preview of everything that's included within this folder, and it was this fox. So again, I'm going to go to the JPEG, Woodland Christmas number 4, and here it is on the mat. I'll bring in the PNG as well, just for reference. Okay, so we've got them side by side, so I'm not sure how well you'll see, but the black line goes all the way around the outside on both of them. So with this particular one, it wouldn't necessarily matter whether you were using the JPEG or the PNG. If I right click and ungroup and bring the outlines separate, you'll see that the outlines are identical on this one. So there must have been enough definition between this kind of creamy beige and the white background for it to be able to pick up all the outline, which is what you would want for a print and cut. But when I printed this image in Canva and I scanned it through the ScanNCut machine, because the ScanNCut machine couldn't see the biggest difference in the differential, it added the outline around here, but then when it came round the side of the hat, it came in and it cut this line here and this line here. Then it carried on and went all the way around. So basically with this one, so as not to waste it, I turned it over and I just glued this section back to the rest of it. And you can't really tell. But obviously if you've got the print and cut facility, it's going to be a lot easier, and you'll probably get a better result if you drag all your images or auto trace all your images through Canvas Workspace through the print and cut. I would invariably, if you've got a PNG option in whatever it is you're auto tracing, I would always go for the PNG. It would just save you time. But obviously if you've not got the print and cut, you can put these images from this bundle into Canva, print them directly from Canva, use the PDF print, which will give you the best quality, and then scan it through your machine. You may have to, add a pencil lining around some of them to give you a defined edge, but it's doable, and I have covered things like that before. So for using the print and cut, as I say, I would Always make sure first of all that from the artboard you choose the size of paper that you're going to be printing on. Make sure you put your registration marks on. Try and use PNG images, and then I'll just go back so that these both look the same. Remember that you can resize them. You don't have to cut them the size that you bring them in from the, in this particular case, from the bundle. As long as they're grouped, or you group them, you grab them together and resize them, the cut line will stay with the printed image. And then you just go File, Export PDF Images Only. I'll just call this one Fox. Save it on the desktop. That's put the PDF print on my desktop. So from here I can now print it through the printer. I'll just open it for you to see how it looks. So you can see it's printed, it's not put the outlines around it, which is what we want. We've got the registration marks, which the ScanNCut will pick up. And then you would go back to the top of the page in Canvas Workspace and choose File, Export. This time you're going to say OK, and you're going to export it as an FCM. Again, I'll just put it on the desktop. And it's here. I'll get rid of these and I'll drag it on so you'll see what the cut file will bring in. So at this stage you don't need to move anything. All you need to do now is print your PDF, load it into your ScanNCut machine, and then call up this cut file. It will find the registration marks and it will cut around the printed design that will be on the page. Once you've got it in your machine, you can then add offsets if you want to. This line obviously is going to cut directly on this outline. Me personally, once I got this into the ScanNCut machine, I would just select, in this case, either item, and I would add an offset and print it with an offset because I like a white border around my printable images. That's hopefully a full explanation now of the print and cut facility. As I say, I will link the other video that's nearly 2 years old and you can watch both of them. Hopefully I've covered everything in both videos, but just in case I've missed something in the first video that I've mentioned in this, or vice versa, you've got the other one to refer to as well. So that's print and cut using the Brother ScanNCut Print and Cut activation. As I said at the beginning, I'm not sure whether this is available in all of the Brother markets, but if you've got the print and cut facility, this obviously has been another overview of it. And this was a request from somebody that left a comment on a previous video. It may have been Lynn, I can't remember. But anyway, I hope it's been helpful. Please give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.